Welcome back to the Fantastics Inside of Baseball podcast. I'm Lou Blassie along with Sky Dombrowski from Fantastics and InsideOfBaseball.com. Hi, Sky. How are we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Lou. How about you?
I'm doing all right. For people who aren't familiar with our podcast or finding us for the first time, everyone who knows us knows this is the time of the year where we have nothing to do because there's not enough data to do anything, but we have to do shows. We have to write articles. We have to keep the news flow going. So we have to come up with stuff.
Stuff. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, stuff.
But I had a couple questions before. We're going to get into Sky's Guys, which is one of my favorite episodes because Sky does most of the work. And I like your opinion.
I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and all these names we talked about in the spring, a lot of these names, and we've talked about a lot of these names in the past. We'll get into them. Sky's Guys today, guys that Sky likes going forward. But where are you at this point of the year? I know we've talked about this before, but first week of waivers, second week of waivers, this type of period, I kind of love this time of year because I'm willing to speculate, and I like to keep flex spots, and I like to ride the hot hand and grab some lottery tickets and things like that. I think my teams are solid enough so that I can take a chance on a guy that's particularly hot.
Yeah, I would be like that, except I'm not in a single league where most people are available. I've really cut back this year. I only have 5 leagues, and every one of them is incredibly deep. So if there's somebody available, it's just an odd situation. But yeah, I still give advice to people.
That. Are the leagues, I know you're playing some incredibly deep leagues that are legitimately incredibly deep, but is it so much that the leagues are deep or the pool is shallow? We talked about this during the draft where you get to these plateau levels, especially in the outfield. I need to pick up an outfielder here and there, and I'll pick up an outfielder. I'll look at the pool of outfielders, and it's like there's a half a dozen guys who are about the same, but none of them are exciting. None of them are getting me excited.
Yeah, nothing jumps out at you.
No.
Yeah,
like I'll take them, but I don't really want to.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And, we looked at this in the spring, and this is why when you look at my list as we go through it, you're going to see some starting pitching really that's way down there, like guys that were being drafted on average as 7th and 8th starters for people. Yeah. But that's where I feel the depth is right now. Starting pitching depth is there, not at the ace level, but at the mid-rotation level. I think it's pretty deep. Yep. But like you say, outfield gets pretty ugly after about the top 40. And in your average 12-team league, you're rostering like 70 or 80. So what do you have? You don't have anything great.
I've got a 12-team league. I got 3 outfielders on there that are just like, why? I have to, but I'm just not excited. I'll go 4 outfielders I'm just not excited about. And it's just, it's amazing how the outfield has evolved in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, even past that, probably closer to a decade now, where it just feels like outfield just continues to get weaker and weaker and weaker. I wouldn't say it's the weakest position, though. I do feel like that's second base. Yeah. But, we used to have first base. It's just a massive power position. Now it's like, well, it's okay. Shortstop is so deep, and that used to be weak. So, over time, things have changed. The landscape has changed.
All right, what impressions are you sitting with here in the first week or so of the season? Either ABS, if you want to talk about that, or player performance, or what stood out to you so far? We have to dive into it. What's going on? Although there's not enough data to really talk about anything, but still, we have our impressions.
Yeah, the one game the Yankees have lost so far, hence the hat today. I was watching the other night. It's the Monday night game, 9:40 start here on the East Coast. And I think the home plate umpire missed 6 calls, all of which were overturned by ABS in the first 2 innings. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, find a different job. if you can't figure out where the bottom of the zone is, I don't know what to tell you.
The Reds and Red Sox had one of those with C.B. Buckner.
Oh, goodness. C.B. Buckner was channeling Angel Rodriguez. It was pretty ugly.
The Reds had 5 challenges that they hit on. I think there were 8 challenges during the game, and the Red Sox lost their first challenge against them. It was funny as hell. And that wasn't even the worst call he had on the day. But the ABS, I'm falling into the minority in a lot of these. I love the changes in baseball over the last few years. I love all of them. The ABS, I kind of like it. I think it maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe they got to limit the ABS access a little bit more. In other words, instead of having a free slate every time you get a call overturned, you still got to limit it to a little bit.
I kind of like it because it's so quick.
Yeah.
That it's
You do a
not
good
like
job.
an instant replay review in football or basketball that can take 5 minutes. This is like 5 seconds. So I think it's okay. For once, I don't really have a negative opinion of a change that they've made. Like, if you could get rid of the Manfred man, I'm all for it. I don't care if games go 20 innings. It just doesn't bother me. The whole thing is set up because they don't want to excessively exhaust bullpens that get
Yep.
exhausted by their managers every day anyway. Um, I get it, but I don't like it and I don't want it.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I'm in the minority on that one too. I've loved all the changes. I like the ghost runner because
Yeah.
again, I've been stuck at Fenway till 1 in the morning too many
Well,
times,
they're a
especially
better
with
place
your
to
Yankees. Yeah,
our two teams have probably two of my least favorite parks in the country.
yeah, and it's like I don't know, going in February, in March or April, or going 15, 16 innings. I don't know. I just don't need it.
Yeah, I see your point. I
Plus,
see your point.
I like it from a standpoint, from a product standpoint, because of that anticipation where you have the runner in scoring position right from the beginning. It's like you're on edge the entire extra inning part of it. And usually it goes 1 or 2 innings. Now, if someone wanted to tell me play the 10th normally and then at the 11th, go to the ghost runner or something like that, I could be taken on that as well. But I just like it because it just increases the anticipation more.
Well, I can see it, but I do like the compromise there of maybe going through the 11th normally, and then after that, like, all right, now we put a guy on second base and try to get this done by the 13th.
Okay, and we're starting to look at stats, and as we go through the spring here, we'll run into stats that become reliable at a certain point. We talk about that quite a bit at the point which certain individual stats become reliable, and we'll get to that as we go through the spring here. But has your evaluation methods changed this year at all? Are you taking in the bat speed and these types of things? Are you incorporating it into what you're doing? Has anything changed in the way you normally evaluate players this year?
I mean, I'm looking at it a little, but for the most part, I am a creature of habit, and I'm just kind of doing the same
Yeah,
things and all of that. So,
I want to see more data. We're in the second year, so there's more data.
yeah. Yep.
So
But
you can start to make more sense
exact
of it, but
velocity stuff is still for me that's king because that's what you're actually doing for contact. You know about my hitting evaluation level is can you identify a ball in a strike? Can you
right.
make contact with it when you swing? Can you do damage on the contact? And that hasn't really changed. The damage portion, maybe you look at the bat speed and you add that factor in there. But I just think it's much less importance than can you actually make good contact with the baseball.
Hit tool / power for hitters, and
Mhm.
then on the pitching side, the three pillars of pitching that we talk about a lot, and we've identified in the last couple of years that we think that the walk rate might be the most important part of it. I think that continues to be the trend. I think teams are emphasizing it for a number of different reasons. The stolen base changes has been a big part of it. I also
Mhm.
think they're trying to get pitchers to be more efficient because of bullpens, and eventually, the one change that I thought Major League Baseball would do that they haven't is adding another pitcher. Right? They need to add at least one more bullpen arm.
I mean, do they though? I think maybe we're starting to move toward a little more bulk relievers uh, from specialization.
Yep.
So I think that over the next 5 to 10 years, I think you'll see more multi-inning relievers, guys that are quote failed starters, moving into the pen and being effective in shorter stints once through the lineup, something like that. And it's funny, like as we get through this list, we talk about the importance of control and of not walking batters. And of the list of guys that I have chosen, they are control challenged in general, many of them. But I just feel like upside is there to be had. I think you can improve control easier than you can improve stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe
Oh
I'm
God.
off
Yeah.
base in that, but I just
No,
feel like
I think you're right. I think control can be taught to an extent
I think so. Yeah.
if you're not velocity dominant, because velocity kind of negates control quite often,
It
except
can.
among the elite. Yeah.
Well, and that's why guys like the first pitcher on our list are so incredibly valuable.
On the rules, the only rule that I had trouble with that I kind of balked at, but I've come around on it is a relief pitcher facing three batters because I thought that kind of took a lot of strategy out of the game, but it kind of took a lot of strategy out of the game in a good way, I think.
I agree with that. I think I was getting really tired of Tony the Fossil Fossis coming
Yeah.
in for one left-handed batter, 90 times a year. I got tired of watching Tony La Russa walk out to the mound and all of that. So for me, that's a positive change.
All right, Skies guys. How would you describe Skies guys?
I wouldn't say there's an overriding theme here. If there would be one, it's young hitters and pitchers with upside that I thought were sort of undervalued in the draft/auction season. I do have a few things where I'll use comparatives, and like the very first guy in the list, I did a magazine article in Fantasy Baseball Index. We did a little roundtable with a couple other guys, and I came right out and said this in December. So I'm gonna stick to my guns, and we'll see. It's panning out so well so far.
Let's do him 5. Shea Langeliers is the first guy on the list here. Good young catcher, and that's another position that's evolved quite a bit in the last 24 months, say.
The catching position is stronger now than I ever remember it.
Yep.
Langeliers he's 28 now, so he's right firmly in his prime. He was drafted as the third catcher off the board, right in the same ballpark as Ben Rice and William Contreras. They're all kind of in the 51 to 54 range of ADP. And the comparative I'll use here is Cal Raleigh. And that was the subject of the roundtable that we did in the FBI. And I said in that article, that's 4 months old now, I said that I would prefer Shea Langeliers to Cal Raleigh this year. I feel like he's a better contact hitter. Cal Raleigh's steal total last year, he's a better base runner. And the power numbers are pretty equivalent. The exit velocities are about the same. Langeliers has a lot of pull and lift as well, just like Raleigh. And Langeliers has a better home park. So Cal Raleigh, it was just a perfect storm last year. His ADP was 17, and I just thought that was ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. The odds of that guy even hitting 40 or 45 this year are probably pretty low. And Langeliers, he's made me look like a genius in the first week. He's got 4 home runs in his first 5 games. But this kid has just as much power, and he's a better hitter. So I'll be really surprised if he doesn't put up better numbers than Raleigh at the end of the year. And for where he was drafted, like if you want a top-tier catcher, he was the target for me. And I love Ben Rice too. He's on the list. But I prefer waiting on catcher. I think that all those guys are drafted a little too highly. But I do love Langeliers, and I think he's the most likely to be catcher number 1 this year.
I wait with a lot of satisfaction. I got a lot of Sal Perez.
I got a lot of the next guy on the list, like a lot of that
guy. The thing with Cal Raleigh, on top of everything else, is that he's going to be paid more attention to in pitchers meetings and things like that. They're going to work him a little bit more, and I don't think his hit tool can stand up to the increased scrutiny.
100%. I don't know. Did I talk about this with you? We're watching the WBC, and I think I might have just talked about it with my wife. I said, boy, I'm looking at this lineup, and the one guy I want to attack in it is Cal Raleigh. Like he's the one that I'm pretty sure anybody can get him out if they really focus on him.
Yeah, and it's like they're begging for Cal Raleigh in that lineup. Well, maybe Alex Bregman too at that point, but
he shouldn't have been playing as much as he did. But whatever.
He shouldn't have been playing, but
over Gunnar Henderson.
I know.
What are you even looking at?
And I understand the whole clubhouse portion of Alex Bregman's game, but that clubhouse shouldn't have needed a clubhouse guy.
On that team, you should not have needed a clubhouse guy. And I think it was pretty clear that the decisions, the management choices were perhaps not optimal when he came out and said, oh, I thought we had already qualified. And they almost got eliminated. Look, if you don't know the rules, what do we say about fantasy baseball? Like if you don't know the rules of your league, you're behind the 8 ball to start with.
Right. You're giving up a big advantage.
Yeah, it's just job 1.
Langelier has the 350 batting average, which we don't pay much attention to, the 4 home runs so far, but his plate approach has been iffy so far this year.
He's been a little more aggressive, but I think you see that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is it more aggression? Is it approach change?
Well, I think he's just locked in right now. You'll tend to see when guys are in the zone, we'll say, for lack of a better term, they do get much more aggressive because they're just seeing the ball so well. They know when they need to swing and they attack. You see that all the time during the year, and it's accentuated right now because it's the first week of the season and we have 5 games worth of data, so we have to talk about something. I would be surprised if that didn't kind of come back toward his career norms by the end of April or whatever.
Yeah, the pull rate isn't there that would show up in an aggression, but and he's not chasing, so he's not getting it's not an approach change for him in terms of they're not approaching him a little bit different. He's not being asked to make an adjustment because he's got control of the strike zone a little bit. Just swing and miss a little more, which means trying to put a little more power into the game, right?
It's working. That's an underrated lineup too. I think that's a well above average offensive lineup.
They're sneaky good. They're just sneaky good.
Yeah, but they don't have much pitching yet.
Yeah.
But there's guys coming. I think that team, by the time they move into Vegas, I think they could be pretty decent.
I'm so excited for a team to go into Vegas. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it just adds another park I got to go to. But after the summer, I'm going to be down to 6. Well, I'll be down to 5, but then when Vegas comes in, I'll be back to 6.
Yeah, but it's Vegas, so what's the big deal? Be great.
Vegas, I can't be in Vegas for more than 3 or 4 days. It's bad for my health.
Not like they're sending you to Seattle or anything.
I can't wait to go to Seattle. That's on the list. It's on the list that I haven't been to yet, but I can't wait to go.
Get some coffee.
Go down to what's that, Pike's Place down there, the market, and see the fish market there. And it's a beautiful part of the country. It just happens to be about as gray as we are, which kind of sucks for a lot of the year. I'm gonna go in the middle of summer.
All right, so Langeliers is making you look good. Carter Jensen's on this list, and that's not so good so far.
Carter Jensen's making me look bad, but again, it's like 5 games, so I'm not gonna get carried away in either direction. Carter Jensen's only 22, so there's some growth to be done here. It was 16th catcher off the board. I stupidly got in a bidding war on him at Tout Wars, but he was the last catcher that hadn't been taken that I wanted.
Yeah.
So I just kept bidding until I think Frank Amarante just kind of got embarrassed that he was about to bid $20 on Carter Jensen. I mean, that's half of what Shohei Ohtani went for, I think.
Welcome to auctions. Yeah.
I just didn't care. I wanted him. I had enough money left. I'm just going to keep bidding.
So it happens at the end of the auctions, right? You got too much money.
It did. Yeah. I mean, we didn't talk about this too much, but I'd say 8 of the 12 of us left way too much money for the end game. So I just decided that I was going to use that money a little bit faster than everybody else did. And so I got guys like Luke Keaschall and Carter Jensen that I probably would not have gotten if I'd continued to be conservative with it. But I just noticed that everyone but Ariel basically had saved money. And I was like, all right, well, this is dumb. I'm just going to start getting guys.
All right, we're going to say it 1,000 more times before the end of the show, I'm sure. And these samples are really small, but the plate rates aren't great so far, but the quality contact is excellent.
The quality contact is great, 94 exit velocity, and it was great last year. 20-10 last year in AAA in 111 games, hit a few homers in the majors too when he came up in September. This kid's got good plate discipline, kind of an average contact bat, top 15% bat speed. I did use it a little bit. Exit velocity is in the top decile. So far, I've watched a couple of his games. A lot of pulled ground balls. His pull rate's, I think, up over 70%.
Pull rates, pull rate is abysmal.
He's just a little antsy, I think. And they're batting him 5th in the order, and that's 5th behind Maikel Garcia, Bobby Witt, the Pasquatch, and Sal Perez. Decent amount of base runner is going to be on for him. I do think he's going to get rolling. I do. I think he just needs to stop pressing a little bit. He's a very good young hitter. Maybe it's not this year. I think it'll be this year, but he's going to be a star, I think.
He's seeing twice as many by deployment rate. He's seeing twice as many sliders as he saw last year. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the pull rate and saw the ground ball rate. What are we getting for breaking pitches? Because he seems to be seeing a lot more. So this is a case of him being asked to make an adjustment. Hopefully, he can't. Obviously, that we don't like that ground ball rate. It's 57%. I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, he's rolling over everything. He's so far out in front, and he just needs to calm down. He's going to be good.
Because they're looking at the quality of contact and they're throwing more off-speed stuff at him.
Yep, exactly.
All right, we've been talking about Ben Rice for years, so let's go.
I love this kid. I absolutely love him. He was one of the least lucky hitters last year, and he hit 26 home runs in his first full season in the majors, and he was terribly unlucky. He's a great player. Expected slugging was 58 points higher than his actual slugging. And his batting average, expected average, was 28 points higher than his actual batting average. So very unlucky last year. Very good plate discipline, very good contact bat, 93-mile-an-hour exit velocity with 113.5 max, which is a good standard deviation, maybe even 2 above average. So pretty much everything except speed he grades out as very good. 60, 65 on the scouting scales, because just a great hitter. Obviously, that lineup is going to score a lot of runs. He's right up in the middle top of the order. I just have a lot of good things to say about him. 6th first baseman off the board, number 2 catcher. The catcher eligibility obviously is just the icing on the cake here.
Yep.
I love this kid. I think he's a fantastic young hitter.
Incredible plate rates, incredible quality of contact numbers. Still doesn't get the love he deserves, though. He's still priced at a bargain.
I think so. You know, what's that? Upper 5th round pick via ADP in the spring. You know, I think that he's probably worth a half a round above that. And that had moved up during the spring. So, you know, the catcher eligibility is fantastic, obviously. But even at first base, I think he's very much of a plus bat there.
I think that's what keeps his draft position down as a first base, because I don't think people are tuned into spending a lot of capital on first baseman at this point.
Right. But the catcher eligibility. And I do think, you know, the Yankees do have 2 other catchers, but I think there's a solid chance that he gets in 10 to 15 games behind the plate during the course of the year, which should maintain his eligibility for next year in those formats. He is their 3rd catcher. So
I got to look at pitch type again, because his ground ball rate has gone up quite a bit. So that might be the way they're approaching him. Pitch type and velo.
Yeah, I mean they faced Logan Webb, Logan Gilbert, and Luis Castillo so far, all of whom are offering pretty good ground ball rates so far. So I think some of it is quality of opposition versus just what's happening.
60+% sinker slider. That's what he's seen so far. 15% fastball. So they're asking him to make an adjustment.
He is. He's been hitting all right.
And that's been on the road too. I doubt they're going to do that at home. But
well, yeah, I mean that's San Francisco and Seattle are not known as hitters' havens.
Yep. All right, Luke Keaschall with the Twins.
I really like this kid, and you'll see that most of the guys on my list are power bats, except for maybe 2. This is one of the 2. I don't think Keaschall projects to have more than average power. So, but the plate discipline and the contact rates are phenomenal. Second base is a very, very weak offensive position, if you ask me. He was drafted as the 6th second baseman chosen. Very good speed. Bat speed and exit velocity are up early this year on the terribly small sample size. He's hitting 3rd in the Minnesota lineup pretty much every day. Again, I think this is going to be a good average /OBP /stolen base kind of a player. And home runs 10 to 15 probably. It's not going to be anything terribly exciting, but he doesn't have no power. He's just more of a line drive hitter than anything else.
He's in a good market too. He's got some value because of his position.
Yeah.
Yep. Trying to look here. I mean, plate rates are incredible. 3.4% swinging strike right now early, but only sub 7% last year.
He's in Luis Ariz territory.
You know, as a 22-year-old in his first major league at bats.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's impressive.
Yep.
Really can handle the bat well. Kind of reminds me a little of Nico Horner, actually.
Oh yeah. Good comparison. The Kevin McGonigal is the poster boy. He's the heartthrob so far this year.
Yeah, this kid, man. I mean, I've watched him. He handles the bat so well for a 21-year-old. He looks like he's been in the majors for 5 years already. I could see him being kind of a Francisco Lindor when he was this age. Lindor has become more of a power guy. He definitely changed his approach to get more loft, a little more swing and miss. McGonigal may very well do that, or he may not. It doesn't matter. You know, just almost supernatural ability to make contact with the baseball, and he can do some damage. He's going to be more of a doubles and triples guy, I think, than a home run hitter. But he was 19-10 last year in 88 games at A and AA. But that's the kicker. He was playing in A and AA last year, and he's looked this good in the majors in his first 5 games, and he looked good all spring, which take that for what it's worth. Excellent plate discipline, excellent contact, average power and speed, but the sheer ability for his contact is going to give him a much higher floor than most 20-year-olds.
Is he going to be able to compete at those positions on the left side of the infield? Because shortstop is super deep. Third base
is super deep, but he's been playing third base primarily, and he can definitely compete there.
Yeah, third base, he fits. His profile works better as a third baseman. It would be better as a second baseman like Keaschall, but still, he's at third base. He fits.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I expect him to have dual eligibility next year.
So you mentioned his age and you mentioned his mindset. And I was looking at Connor Griffin this week and just watching him all spring long. And Roman Anthony, I'm seeing it in Boston to this point. You got these young kids who are just incredibly put together. I mean, from a mental standpoint, their approach, their mindset, everything. Before all these sabermetrics, when I was going to ballparks to look at prospects, I look, and I'm sure you do this too. I look for that alpha dog thing, and it's hard to describe, but Connor Griffin has it. Roman
Oh yeah.
Anthony has it. You can just see the alpha dogs in there that they're just mentally ready for this challenge.
Mhm.
And McGonigal is another one of those guys. We're seeing more of these guys as we go along, which indicates to me that the development curve is evolving even more. We got to look at Connor Griffin at 19. We got to look at McGonigal. Got to look at a Roman Anthony because they're just so well put together mentally as well as physically.
They don't look overmatched, and that's
No,
obviously not the norm. And I mean, you and I can talk about this because it's sort of our era. But you go back to the early to mid '90s, and you remember Nomar and Jeter and A-Rod all coming up at the same time, and none of them looked overmatched. They all just looked like they belonged from minute one. And you do get those little batches sometimes of really just prospects that are not only talented, but they're just confident and comfortable. They think that they belong at the top level before they even get there.
yeah,
And
Xander
that is not
Bogaerts
normal.
up here in Boston. Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers. That was my first impression of Rafael Devers. He's not overwhelmed by this at all.
Yeah, he looks overwhelmed now more than he did back
He
then.
does look overwhelmed more now than he
Oh,
does. I'm glad you brought that up.
there's something wrong with him mentally right now. I don't mean wrong in the sense like
Yeah.
there's something wrong with him. He needs to go see a doctor or whatever, but he's just something is not right with his confidence level anymore.
Well,
I don't like seeing it. I love him as a player.
it's funny, and I forget the name of this documentary series. It's a documentary series that I believe Netflix put out on the Red Sox, and I was struck, and it was before last year, before Bregman, but I was just struck at the mental situation. And again, I don't mean anything wrong, like you need to go therapy or get on drugs or anything like that. But the whole mindset of the clubhouse was strikingly bad with Brian Bayo, Rafael Devers. There were a few, Tristan Cassis is another guy who goes along. Jaron Duran is another guy who has some struggles as well, and those are well documented. But the entire mindset of the Red Sox clubhouse was strikingly bad in that documentary. That's the thing that I walked away from.
It's weird how you can feel that kind of stuff. Just you see the dugout 4 times during a game, and you can just kind of you can sense what's happening. And I've been on a lot of teams of various sports and activities in my life, and there are times when the dynamic is perfect and you all become greater than the sum of your parts. And there are times when the dynamic is just wrong. And winning and losing, we're data people,
Yeah.
so we you can't really quantify this stuff, so we just gloss over it at times. But I think you and I both well know that winning and losing, they're habit forming.
Oh God, yeah.
Like we played last night against a very, very good team that probably was 50-50 with us for in the semifinals. And we won every single match. And like I told my friend, she's a top 3 female dart player. She's been in the World Cup 9 times. She's great. She plays on my Wednesday night team. And she said, "Hey, great job tonight." I said, "Yeah, it was just one of those games where every single one of us, when we had to hit a big dart at the end of the rubber match game, we hit it. Every one
Yeah.
of us hit it. And we're all watching each other's games, and everybody just kind of knew, like, yeah, you're going to find a way to win this game. I know you are."
Well, if you're in this market and you're watching closely, you watch Brian Bayo, and you can watch him come apart on the mound. You can watch it happen.
It just
You can
unravels.
watch it unravel. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And he's
But
getting a little
until
bit
then, he's
better
just
at it.
rolling along, and it looks so easy.
And behind the scenes in that documentary, he would just go into the side room off the dugout and just start throwing stuff around during the course of the game. It's like you can't be a professional like that.
Look,
That's something you have to tame. And they're
I
all
saw
kids.
more water coolers destroyed by Paul O'Neill
Yeah,
than Carter had liver pills. So it's not always
I guess it
that.
can be done then, right? Yeah.
But it's okay. If there's one guy in your team that does that, that's okay.
But when we see a guy like McGonigal, when you see a Roman Anthony, and we just saw the WBC, Roman Anthony in the WBC.
I love this kid. I love him.
He's incredible, and most of it, he's obviously extremely talented, but we see a lot of extremely talented kid. His mindset just strikes me so positively. He's just got a handle on it all. And it's interesting because he's at a point already, the team is at a point already where they could be struggling keeping it together. And he's out of the lineup today on April 1st, was when we're recording this. He's out of the
April
lineup
Fools
today.
from Alex Cora.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he shows up in the lineup.
Maybe.
But
Well,
I love
keep
the
saying
kids
not
who show.
overmatched, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but I love kids who show talent and mindset at the same time.
Yep.
And Connor Griffin just wowed me. I mean,
Well,
he did the was it Peacock? I think it was Peacock did a game or something where he was mic'd up, and just watching him being mic'd up and just listening to him during the course of a game. And it's spring training. Don't get me
Yep.
wrong. It's
Yep.
not WBC or anything, but he's a 19-year-old kid and he acts like he's 27 out there.
Those are the kids you have to watch because they're just, the moment's not going to be too big for them. Now, Griffin is a little more raw than the other two, but he's also a couple of years younger. His tools are probably the best of the three of them, but he is the least ready right now.
Oh, he needs time, and that's a hit tool. The hit tool comes around.
He should be up by the break, though. I think even with Pittsburgh,
his physical skills and his mental skills are just all there. It's just he's got to learn how to hit. And again, he's at the point where he's going to be seeing pitching that's working on him for the first time. In the minor leagues, especially in the AA, the pitchers are working on what they need to do for the most part. There's not as much scheming for hitters as there is in the major leagues. When he gets to the major leagues and they start to find holes, he's going to have to work that end of it, but that's going to take time. It's not a shortcoming of his. It just takes time.
Yeah. Well, and especially like in that lineup, he will be a focal point the second he shows up.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got Kevin McGonigal. I mean, there's some other guys around. Roman Anthony, certainly there's other hitters around that you're going to plan for in addition to planning for him. When you play the Pirates, you're planning for Connor Griffin.
Yeah. Okay.
Who else are you going to scheme for? O'Neal Cruz?
Yeah.
You can get that guy out. Just throw something near the plate. You can get him out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, you're going to have to pay attention to Connor Griffin right off the bat.
Yeah.
But they'll find a hole and pound it. And, like all these kids, they're asked to make an adjustment. It's how well they make the adjustment.
Yep.
And we've already highlighted.
He does strike you as a kid that will make it.
Doesn't have to be a kid. We just highlighted a couple of ball players that are seeing much more breaking pitches this year, and we've recognized it in their pull rate and their ground ball rate, and it's something they have to make an adjustment to.
Yep, and they will. I mean, again, we're looking at 4 or 5 games of data, so it's goofy stuff.
All right, Jordan Lawler.
Yeah, this kid, as spring went on,
post hype prospect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we talk about Jordan Lawler like he has failed at the major league level. And yes, his 2 cameos were pretty horrendous. And it's a total of 108 plate appearances spread out over like 2 games a week for 2 months.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Like that's nothing. That is nothing. That means almost nothing. You look at his AAA stats last year, 63 games, 313, 403, 564, 11 homers, 20 steals. I mean, that's a 20-40 player with a 300 batting average at AAA. He is a very, very good hitter. Power is probably just above average. Speed's very good. Plate discipline's very good. His contact tool, his hit tool is not as good as the other guys that we've been talking about. But I think it could approach average. It's probably average minus right now. But if he has, just kind of a mediocre batting average at third, but average to plus power and plus speed, very valuable player. And he was the 25th third baseman being drafted this year. That's a good lineup, scores a lot of runs. He's batting kind of in the bottom middle part of the order. So lots of guys on base in front of him typically. I think he's going to stick this time. I think he's going to have a pretty decent year.
Good power projection and he controls the plate, right?
Yes.
So that's step 1, control the plate. And he controls the plate very well. When he makes contact, he's got power potential, hasn't shown itself yet because first of all, the slow starts are going to get him more contact centric than he was already as a 20-year-old, right? When he broke into the league. So it's going to take him time to get his footing. And he almost looks a little bit more solid in his footing this year, almost already seeing those types of gains. So that's when the power is going to start to emerge.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's actually healthy this year. Last year, he wasn't really healthy much for much of the year. And he's coming off a great spring too. So he really did play well. I caught a couple of his spring games. He looked good. He stood out on the field. And that's kind of what you're looking for in the spring is, all right, who looks like a major leaguer here and who looks like they should be shipped out. And he looked like he belonged. So I feel like I think he's on pace for a good year, and he could definitely have multi-positional eligibility because he can play short. He certainly can play third, but they've got Arenado's who's been playing some outfield.
Yep. Oh yeah. I love seeing these early season numbers. We get a 90% pull rate or an 89% pull rate.
He's not being fooled.
He's not being fooled. No. But again, I wonder if we're just seeing more breaking pitches off the start of the year.
There are guys that are throwing like 15% fastballs. It's like everybody has gone to the Masahiro Tanaka school of I don't throw my fastball. I just have one.
Remember how we railed the Yankees for moving away from the fastball?
They were just ahead of their time.
They're just ahead of the time.
It feels like this year that's what there are. And there are a few exceptions. There are a couple pitchers I've seen that have over 70% fastball deployment. But
wait a second. There's one of my favorite Skyisms, which is it's indistinguishable between being too early and being wrong.
Being wrong. Yeah, 100%. Although that was in reference to the stock market and prognostications, which since I've been looking for a pretty sizable correction for 2 years, I think we're firmly into the wrong category now, even though it's going to happen at some point.
I'm telling you, that's going to be a future tattoo for me because I love that saying. I use it all the time.
An appropriate saying. I believe that was former Merrill Lynch chief strategist Chuck Clow, if you want to credit someone for
it. I'm crediting you for it.
That's fine.
You brought it to me.
Accept.
All right, you and I are both on Maikel Garcia this year.
This kid, he just keeps getting better. And for a sort of weak position like third base, he was the 6th third baseman chosen. I feel like he should be second or third, to be honest with you. He's 26, still on the up part of the curve, just getting into his prime. Very good plate discipline, excellent contact rate, above average power, very good speed. He's still improving. The fly ball rate has continued to increase, which I think is what we're all looking for him to get to that kind of 20-30 level. And he's batting leadoff for a pretty sneaky, decent lineup in the Royals. At least the top half of that lineup is good. The bottom half is sketchy.
Yeah.
Top 5, 6 slots in that lineup are solid.
And the ballpark changes are going to help him and help the top half of that lineup as well.
Yep. And I would not be surprised to see him score 100 runs this year.
He's probably 2020 floor, right? I mean, could we say 2020 floor?
15-25. Well, 15-20. Yeah, that's probably the floor with a good batting average, a better on-base percentage, and a lot of runs scored. Very valuable player. I think he's a high floor player for me, but I feel like there's some ceiling here too. With the above average exit velocity and well above average speed, above average plate discipline, above average by a lot contact rate, he's good at everything.
I think what's going to happen is I think this is going to be the old school power progression because he's getting into that age 26, 27 season is going to be the physical projection. I think he's going to be asked to play a different role going forward at this point. It's kind of a Christian Yelich factor in there as well, where all we're looking for is that elevation, a little bit more launch angle, and I think it's going to start to come.
You've been seeing it a little bit more each year, and this kid, I stood next to him in Kansas City in July. He is whitey.
He's what?
He still is filling out. So
yeah. Oh yeah. There's another gear of physical maturity for him.
I think so. Yeah.
And I think part of that is role change and what he's asked to do as well, because I think he's physically built for the player that needed him to be to this point. But I think he's going to be a more middle of the order. Well, traditional middle of the order. It's all changed now, but he's going to need to be more of a producer.
Yeah, I think so. They're not really looking for him to hit 30.
No.
But they're looking for a little more than he has shown.
Yep. He's not a auxiliary offensive piece anymore. He's going to be part of the offensive plan. Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole top of that order, all the first 5 guys are, you know what I think of Carter Jensen. So maybe that's not what everybody else thinks, but I think those 5 guys are all plus players. Sal Perez is the guy I would be least high on because he swings at everything.
He's always swung at everything.
Yes, he has. It hasn't hurt him yet.
Nope.
Unless you're in OBP league.
And the WBC, one of my bigger takeaways from the WBC was just falling in love with Bobby Witt Jr. all over again.
He is a wonderful, wonderful player, and he's still so young.
I know. There's still more to come. There's still more.
I love the Royals, man. Cole Reagans is one of my favorite SP1s. I love that team. And it's funny, you talk about, they're going to lose a lot of games because they can't figure their bullpen out.
Yep.
But we'll get to this later in the one closer that I have on this list, but the fact that dude was being drafted rounds after Carlos Estevez. Carlos Estevez got saves just by default, by sheer existence last year. That's not a strategy. Existing and getting numbers is not a strategy. That guy shouldn't have been drafted in any format. And I'm just so glad that all of my preseason comments were justified in his first outing of the year and subsequent move to a walking boot. The walking boot was his ego. That's where it resides, apparently.
He was such an interesting phenomenon during this draft season because as much as the media and you, me, everybody else tried to knock him down, and everybody in the media was on top of it, they just could not knock this kid down. People are still drafting him.
People can't ignore that. They just refuse to.
Well, I know, but it's chasing, right? It's kind of like Cal Raleigh.
My primary argument against Roto's style, because you're drafting players that are not good. They're not good baseball players, but you're drafting them because they get some stupid number because their manager puts them in for a couple outs at the end of a game. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
Yeah, but especially when it comes to saves, because saves, nothing is guaranteed. I don't care how many saves you had last year. If you can't pitch, you're going to be out of the role.
Definitely. But the problem with the Royals bullpen is,
especially by the way, the Royals, the last thing the Royals want to do is put a guy back to back with 30 saves. That's the last thing they want to do.
Right? They got to pay him.
Especially Carlos Estevez. Yeah, then you got to pay him.
Well, the guy most likely to take the role, who picked up the save the next day, Lucas Erceg, has suddenly just stopped missing bats. Like the velocity is still there, but the stuff just isn't as sharp. It's not breaking as much. He looks much more hittable than he did a couple of years ago. The guy I would watch in that bullpen, to be perfectly candid, is the kid that was on. I've watched him in the WBC a couple times. Luinder Avila.
Oh,
he's got nasty stuff. I could see him taking the closer's job by midpoint of the season.
And we should, while we're talking bullpen roles at this point, because this is one of the first things that you can talk about early in the season with some kind of effectiveness, is what you're seeing is happening with the bullpen at this point. And our philosophy at Fantastics and Inside of Baseball, and I know it's your personal philosophy and my personal philosophy, is pay attention to skills, the skill set, right? Opportunities. Some guys have earned opportunities. Some guys have vested opportunities. There's no doubt about it. But in these bullpens where it's wide open, look for skill set.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're finding more and more that maybe a third of the closer situations in the league are set. Maybe it's 40%. I don't think it's half. I think it's pretty fluid in most situations.
I think a lot of it is economic too. I hate to be cynical about it, but a lot of it is economic.
Well, there's a fine line between cynicism and realism,
I guess. All right, we got to get moving through this list at this point. Roman Anthony, what do we got to say about Roman Anthony? And it hasn't been a great start. It hasn't been a great start for the Red Sox in general. So this is a team malaise at this point.
He's the best. I love him. I will hear no other arguments. He's 21. Looks like he belongs. Plate discipline's great. Contact rate's very good. The power is borderline elite already at 21. Speed's probably above average. He's probably a 5-category player. Wonderful future star. Love everything about the kid.
Early season numbers again: 70% hot hit rate, 98.2% average exit velocity.
Pretty good.
Of course, it's a very small sample.
Larry David, pretty good.
Pretty good. All right, we don't need to talk about him. Everyone knows about him. But Dalen Lyle is a guy who gained a lot of popularity during the draft season.
Yeah, the latest Nationals outfielder that I just somehow am irrationally attracted to, that I can't not draft, and somehow there's nothing here that is super.
My guy Dylan Cruz a job.
Yeah, who was last year's darling, and sometimes you're wrong. I think the kid has skills, and he should be back up at some point. Jacob Young is playing. I mean, come on, Dylan Cruz could play.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dalen Lyle, nothing flashy here. He's got decent plate discipline, above average contact ability, average power, above average speed. There's no major strengths, but there's also no major weaknesses. He strikes me as the kind of player that's got a pretty good floor. I think he'll give you a good average, a good OBP, and maybe he's a 15-15 guy over the course of the season, which we've talked about how weak the outfield is down toward the bottom. And he strikes me as the kind of guy who's drafted as outfielder 48. That's right at the end of a fourth outfielder in 12-team formats, of course. I think that he could give you outfielder 3 numbers. If he's 280, 15-15, that's fine.
Now, I'm going to talk to you about this because you have expertise and I don't. we're putting a portfolio together, at the bottom of the portfolio, we're putting a little bit of risk or a little bit of ceiling, looking for a little bit of projection. It's kind of what we have to do with the outfield, isn't it? Especially when you're rostering 4 or 5 outfielders.
Yeah, and he's the guy that you would use before that. Here's my floor. Now I can go be really aggressive and take some guys that like a Joe Adell, like Joe Adell last spring. Or if this pans out, all right, he hits 35 homers. Sure, he swings and misses every other time, but okay.
I never had a worse taste in my mouth ever than picking Joe Adell this year.
Yeah, but the power is obvious. The speed is there. There's no contact ability at all. But the old days are gone, where if you swing and miss, if your swing strike rate's 15%, it's untenable. That's not the case anymore. So you can still put up stats, especially on a pathetic team like the Angels. You can put up stats and they're going to keep you in the lineup and you're going to hit your 30 homers, and that's good for our numbers.
All right, what do we have to say about Christopher Sanchez, who's been just a terrific pitcher?
Christopher Sanchez is my pick for NL Cy Young this year, and this was before the first start of the season.
Old prediction.
I love Paul Skeens. How can you not? But Christopher Sanchez, excellent control, excellent ground ball rate, excellent swing strike rate. What is not to like? He's a fantastic pitcher, and he has been for the past couple of years, and finally draft season recognized it this year as the 5th starting pitcher off the board. But for me, he should have been 3rd. I think he's wonderful. I think he's just a great, great pitcher, and he's my pick to just nudge out Paul Skeens this year for the NL Cy Young.
3 pillars of starting pitching. He can strike out a guy when he needs to, doesn't walk a ton of guys, keeps the ball on the ground, keeps the ball in the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, the ground ball rate is ridiculous. The control is probably top 5 in the league. The swing strike rate's the weakest of the 3, but it's still very good. So, I mean, there's just nothing not to like here.
Imagine if he wasn't in Philly.
It just doesn't seem to matter. With his ground ball rate, it almost just doesn't even matter.
I know, right? Big ground ball rate, and still his home run and fly ball rate is sub 10.
Yeah, which is amazing.
I know, because it's such a small denominator at this point.
Yep.
Okay, I know because I'm playing against him this week. Bubba Chandler pitched very well yesterday.
Well, did he though? This is a stuff choice entirely. And we talked at the Open about how you and I are really control centric at this point.
Yep.
And this is not that.
Right.
Because he is all over the place. You saw his line yesterday, right?
Yeah.
4 1/3, no hits, 1 run, none earned, 6 walks, 6 Ks. That's a Bubba Chandler start. That's a J.R. Richards start. Like that's some crazy stuff. But
I'd rather had 3 hits and 3 walks, or 4 hits and 2 walks, and 6 walks.
I'd rather have 6 hits and 1 walk.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's going to have these days where he struggles because the control is just not there. But he showed flashes of good control stretches in the minors. I think he has the ability to be better than he has been in that regard. And the stuff is just terrific.
Are you willing to take his 31 innings pitched with Pittsburgh last year and the walk rate from that sample size and go to the point where he's capable of doing it? In other words, did he demonstrate the skill in that 31 innings? Because in the minor leagues, his walk rate has never been great. It's been acceptable, but it hasn't been great. But in that small stint in the majors last year, his walk rate was damn good. That's what we're looking for.
It was. But that's 5 or 6 starts. I don't think that's quite enough of a sample size for what I'm looking for. But all we need him to be is average in terms of control. If he can walk 3 guys per 9, we're set. He's going to be.
We're always asking the question with control: what's the source of the control problem? Is it approach? Is it stuff? Is it just too much movement on his pitches, or is it lack of ability to control?
It's the stuff. His stuff is just so electric that it is just tough to control. And we run into these guys kind of often anymore. 2 guys down. Actually, no, the next guy on the list has the same issue. And at a certain point, if your stuff is that good and you can make it look plausibly strike-like, that's all you need. And I think if he's walking 4.5 guys per 9, we have a problem. If he's walking 3 to 3.5 guys per 9, even under 4, I'd say with his stuff, we're golden.
Golden?
Yeah.
Going to go that far?
Yes. I think he's going to be a top 25 pitcher this year, but that is definitely a little bit of wish casting on the control.
Yeah, because I have a hard time living with 3.5 to 4 walks a game per 9.
3.7 walks per 9. If he's giving up 6 hits per 9 is fine. That's a good whip. It's like a 1.1 whip. So
Speaking of which, Jose Soriano.
This kid, I probably was higher than consensus on him than any other player this year. I have him in just about every league. I love the stuff. 65, 63% ground ball rate. He's looked electric so far this year, but he's walked 6 guys in 12 innings because that power sinker he's got just moves so much. It's tough to keep it a strike, and if guys lay off it, they're going to walk more often than they're not. But the stuff is great. Everybody rails about the sort of low K rate, but the swing strike rate isn't low. He misses bats. He's just going for ground balls more than he's going for strikeouts. And we've seen this with pitchers over the years.
Yeah.
And that it's honestly, it's fine. You know, he's got good stuff. The velo's up again this year. I think he was starting pitcher 92 taken. And if this guy's not a top 50 starter, he was a top 50 starter last year.
Yeah.
Why would he not be a top 50 starter this year with another year of experience? I feel like he's a top 30 starter. I'm very high on Soriano. If he's somehow still unowned in your league, go pick him up. But 12 shutout innings in his first 2 starts, I think he's probably owned.
No one wants an Angels pitcher.
I don't want an Angels pitcher either, but he's too good.
I know it's a bias, but you got to overcome it in certain instances.
He is the exception that proves the rule that they can't develop pitchers. He's just that good.
The problem here, especially with starting pitching, we've talked about it a little bit this spring, is that there is a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth in the mid-range. There's a lot of depth in this reserve type of area, your 5th, 6th starter, where, I mean, I'm very happy with my starting staff in a couple of different instances, but there's still guys out there that, boy, I'd love to claim him, but I don't know who I'm going to cut for him at this point.
Yeah.
There's guys floating around.
That's the problem. I have a lot of pitching staffs this year. I mean, I'm only doing 5 leagues, but I'd say more than half of my pitching staffs are Christopher Sanchez and some kind of lower end number 2, and then 5 guys like the last 3 names on this list. Well, like Soriano and the next name on this list, and other guys of that ilk that I just feel like I'm going to be able to get 3 good guys out of the 6.
All right, the next guy on this list is Kodai Senga, and he's been a guy who's been overlooked for a number of different reasons. First of all, pitching in New York, and there's a lot of other stars. Nobody pays that much attention to him. Has never been totally dominant enough to capture your attention. But that's a situation of him being overlooked, right?
It is. And, he's one of my favorite class of players. He is always either good or hurt. I mean, that's great, especially in a more shallow league. That's the kind of player you want because they're easily replaceable when they get hurt, but they're never bad. They're always really good until they get hurt.
And as we indicated, the starting pitching position, this is why I was taking on a lot more risks this year, because there is depth in starting pitching, and pitchers emerge. And again, there are guys out in the pool, in all the pools. I go, wow, I'd love to take a ride with him, but I have no roster space for him. But if somebody gets hurt, I know I've got options.
Absolutely. Kodai Senga he was starting pitcher 73 by ADP. Okay. 73. This guy, what's the highest ERA he's ever had? Like 3.5? Why? His control is not great. Again, the ground ball rate's always been decent. The bat missing's good. And by the way, this was not part of my analysis, but his velocity yesterday was up almost 3 miles an hour over last year.
Oh, God.
That's unheard of, that kind of jump.
His bat missing has been more than good. I mean,
it is. It's very good, borderline elite. And a guy that can get a strikeout whenever he wants is pretty valuable. Plus, he gets a lot of ground balls. The only issue with him has been walks and injuries, and not necessarily in that order. If he's going up to a 97 mile an hour average fastball, number 1, he's probably only got 10 to 20 starts of that before his arm goes sproing. But number 2, he's going to be really, really good.
Yeah. Overseas pitchers can handle the walk rate too a little bit better than American League pitchers, I think, or American pitchers, American brought up pitchers.
Maybe. Why do you think that is?
Because I think they're taught to modify more. In other words, they can be 2 different types of pitchers. They can be a different type of pitcher when runners are on base. They can be a different type of pitcher after they've walked and they're in a situation. Americans tend to be brought up. They are who they are. They throw the pitch they throw, and they just
Popeye strategy.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
I am what I am. It's all that I am.
What I am. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what American pitchers tend to be raised that way more than overseas pitchers who seem to be able to adapt to situations a little bit more, probably totally biased and unbased, but
Well,
seems to be.
having watched a lot of Kodai Senga since he came over, I think there may be something to that because there are days where he's kind of coasting along and getting a lot of strikeouts and fly balls. And then there are days where he's either getting singled to death or he's walking some guys, and all of a sudden he becomes a ground ball demon.
Yep.
And I really feel like you're right. And one of the things,
as opposed to a Dylan Cease who just, I'm going to throw, I'm going to walk guys, I'm not going to walk guys. Whatever sequence happens, happens.
Yeah, Toronto's already in love with Dylan Cease. I'm like, yeah, wait 5 minutes.
Wait 5 walks.
Yeah, right. But, I think one of the things that you're getting at that would be indicative of what you're saying about the guys that come over from the Far East, it's the arsenals. Like, they're not 3-pitch guys. They're like 8-pitch guys.
Right.
And almost all of them have some type of nasty ghost fork change or fork ball or splitter or changeup or whatever you want to call it. But they've got something in that arsenal that is just going to dive and create ground balls and swings and misses.
Yeah, and it's something the guy hasn't
a lot. Some days they don't.
And it's something the guy hasn't seen in his first 2 at-bats of the game or his first 5 bats at bats.
Yeah, and they pull that thing like, whoa.
What was that?
Exactly.
As you bounce it to second base.
I remember his first year, guys would go back to the dugout, they're like just shaking their head like, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, anytime you get a pitch that's called a ghost pitch, you get something going on.
Yeah, anything that can disappear is good.
Okay, so this next guy, Sandy Alcantara, sounds like just whenever I'm talking about him, it feels like a tarot card reading.
So I think you need to. I was wrong last year, and I was wrong for a reason that I should have realized at the time. You do not take guys in their first year back from Tommy John surgery because the command is not there. The stuff level is usually close, but just they can't harness it. It takes a while to get the muscle memory going again. So
it's a while just to believe you're not going to throw your arm out on every pitch.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a confidence thing for sure.
Yeah.
But Sandy's always had good control, good ground ball rate. So if you extrapolate the one start he has made beyond what its actual value should be, and just make it look like, okay, well, that's what he's going to be this year, roughly. And then look at the last 5 years. Tell me which one doesn't look like it belongs. It's definitely last year.
Okay, so it's the outlier. Fair enough. I mean, 23 was similar, but
well, was it? I mean, I don't think it was. It was a little bit less than the 2 prior, but certainly not the extent of last year. Last year he was just bad. In fact, he was bad right up until the exact nanosecond that I cut him into Outlaws. And then he was all of a sudden great for the rest of the season, and I wanted to model him.
There you go. We figured it out.
That could be it.
Could be Blas's
That effect is a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just wait, whether it's 25 starts or 4, they wait until I give up on them. They're like, oh, never, I'm fine.
Yeah. People have to send me thank you notes for people I cut every once in a while because it usually turns them right on.
Yeah. Last year was just one of those years. I just couldn't get the pitching right. This year's already starting out better, knock on wood.
But with Alcantara, the price was probably worthwhile for you to take a shot at him. The only problem again
38? Yeah.
Yeah. But the only problem is, as we've talked about repeatedly, is there's a bunch of starting pitching around.
There is. He's at the upper end of that for me. I think that the floor is better. Last year notwithstanding, I think you can just about throw out the first year back from injury for any pitcher. I just don't think that it's super relevant compared to what they're going to be after that. It should be cautionary for all of us. And I'm into Shane McClanahan a little more than I wanted to be this year, but that was a 2-year absence. So it's a little bit different than the guys just coming right back quickly. I think that's the way I rationalized it in my head. Could be wrong. He didn't look great yesterday, but he didn't look terrible either. We'll see.
No, Woodruff was kind of the same story.
Woodruff, yeah, I mean,
Woodruff has velo problems.
I have him too. My pitching staff in Tout Wars is great this year. It is great.
Well, again, because you can take on a lot of risk. You can take on a lot of risk because there's a big, deep pool for you to play with if things don't work out.
Exactly. Plus the reserve list. In that league, I just routinely roster 4 starting pitchers in my reserves So I tend to have like 10 or 11 starters that I can pick and choose from which 7 I want every week.
And we're
So
not
I've
even
got guys
talking.
like Woodruff and Senga and Shane McClanahan and Max Meyer and Jose Soriano. And like 2 of those guys are going to be really good. Then you offset that with Nolan McLean, Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm good there.
We even got to the guys that you can just stash who are on the IL who might be good pitchers going.
Yeah, actually, let me tell you who I have there. I have on the IL, I've got Shane Bieber, Grayson Rodriguez,
yep,
and Josh Hader.
There you go. Well, yeah, we know Josh Hader is going to be good when he comes back.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I was forced into putting Foster Griffin in my relief pitcher spot and was so thankful that the Phillies didn't wreck him on Monday. Now I got to get through a Dodgers start on Sunday, but.
And I took Blake Snell and just pocketed him because I have confidence that the Dodgers have the same goal that I have, is to have him going in August and September.
I think he's on the Tyler Glasnow plan from last year.
Yeah.
Where they're just going to kind of rest, slow build. And by
have
July,
him ready when they need him, right?
Normal.
Have him ready when they have him ready when they need him. Have him ready when I need him.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to win 90 games, barring complete catastrophe. So what do they need? They need those guys healthy in September and October.
No, pull a kid up from AA to pitch a couple starts, and they'll be fine.
They have a few. That's the thing with the Dodgers. Like, it's not just that their major league roster is leaps and bounds better than everyone else's, but their pipeline is still just about as good as anybody's too, which I can't see them being non-competitive at any point in the next decade.
Do they bother you? Does the whole economic aspects of that bother you?
What bothers me is it seems like most of the Far Eastern players don't consider any other teams. They just want to go to the Dodgers. I mean, it bothers me. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
And as far as the economic landscape goes, no, almost every one of these teams could do what they're doing. There's maybe 5 teams that couldn't. And a couple of those teams are just so smart about it that they can compete anyway. I mean, the Angels proved it years ago. You can spend all the money you want, and it doesn't help. You need to be smart.
No, you got to spend it and be smart spending it too. It doesn't work just throwing money around.
Exactly. Money by itself, you get the 1980s Yankees, which were fun, dysfunctional, and bad.
All right. Is it Ryan Walker we're dealing with here?
It is Ryan Walker. So
I didn't expect him to show up on this list.
There are a million people that know more than I do about bullpens. First and foremost is probably my buddy Greg Jewett. I am much more of a just searcher for situations and value than I am for like actually grading closers. But for me, I looked at Ryan Walker and I looked at the rest of that bullpen, and I really feel like his hold on it is fairly solid, even though he hasn't been the best. Because I just don't see anybody. I know people talking about Keaton Wynn and whatever. I don't see anybody else that they're going to really want to trust in that role. Walker's stuff is quite good. He's just a little inconsistent. He got the first save op. He was 17 for 23 last year, which is thoroughly mediocre. But he was the 19th closer taken. And I feel like he's a lot more secure than the half dozen or even a couple more that were drafted in front of him, including one Carlos Estevez.
Carlos Estevez was drafted in front of Ryan Walker?
By a couple rounds.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Again, we tried to beat everybody down. The whole industry tried to beat everybody down on this, and nobody listened.
I mean, I suppose that they listened a little because he was probably in the top 5 in saves last year. And he was something like the 13th or 14th closer taken. So at least people listened a little bit. But I wouldn't have touched that dude with a 10-foot pole. His fastball was 88 in the spring, coming off a 94.5 last year. If that's not hurricane level flags, I have no idea what is.
All right. So you brought up a discussion we almost had in this episode where you're talking about pitching velocity and pitching velocity gains and stuff like that. Is that one of these things you look at early? Because pitching velocity should be, in other words, when you see a guy who's down 3 miles an hour, Brandon Woodruff, by the way, and Estevez, there's legitimate cause for concern.
Yeah, I think so. I trust gains more than I trust losses at this point in the season. But a loss of the Estevez magnitude, which is over 5% of your velocity, That is not just I'm ramping up slowly. That
Yeah.
is a problem. 3 miles an hour for Woodruff, I'm concerned, but that dude has shown in the past, like a Clayton Kershaw kind of a pitcher,
Yeah.
that he can survive with lower velocity because he just is so adept both in terms of control and the breadth of the arsenal. So I'm a little less concerned with him than I would be with others. Gains I trust. And that's why I'm glad I put Kodai Senga on this list when I sent it to you before he actually pitched. And then when he pitched, I was like, oh my God, almost 3 miles an hour more. That's
on top of good performance.
He is.
Yeah.
He would be my first guy that I'd be diving after right now if he's somehow available. 2 to 3 mile an hour gains, like that is a prescription for an above prognostication season coming.
I'm sorry, I'd look for my house league, but I got a guy with a Japanese player fetish, so
yeah, he's probably.
I know he owns them.
I love Senga. I love watching him pitch. He's just so never gets rattled. He'll walk like 6 guys. He's like, I don't care. I'll get the next guy to go on a double play. It's fine. Yeah. He's just always level out there. Really talented pitcher. I do love him, and that 2.7 miles an hour extra makes me love him even more.
Nice. All right, that's it for us. Go to insideofbaseball.com. There's a free baseball blog, free to non-subscribers. Lots of great articles and insights and samples of the email that goes out to our subscribers every day. We have dozens of players in the email, but we get 5 or 6 players. Some real good, valuable insight, even if you're not a subscriber to Fantistics. But check it out. Check out all the features, the way we help you out during the regular season, help you win championships, right? Don't just play, dominate, right, Sky?
That is the tagline.
All right, that's it for us. Check for back episodes and check for more episodes as we go. As soon as you come to the blog, you'll get our latest episodes, so don't worry about it. See, we'll always be available for you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll talk to y'all next time on the Inside of Baseball podcast.